Hey guys, today I'll give you your study plan to go from intermediate to advanced in German. So you've made it past beginner level of German, but you kind of still feel stuck. You are learning, but it's like there is nothing changing. Your grammar has improved and it is better, but your speaking still feels unnatural. This is something that I personally refer to as the B1, B2 plateau phase, where motivation starts to fade and progress starts to slow down. As somebody who has been learning German for the past 2.5 years, I have experienced this myself, and today I want to give you your smart action plan. This plan will help you shoot through that whole stagnation phase and go on to achieve advanced level in German. We will cover everything from reading, writing, hearing, speaking, and at the end of the video, I'm going to give you some bonus hacks that will help you really go on to advanced level in German. And if you're new here, my name is Melk. I am a medical doctor. I live here in Bonn, German. I moved here from Uganda about 2.5 years ago, and yes, right now I'm fluent in German. I'm actually preparing myself for the second medical licensing exam, the so-called Kenntnisprüfung. Yep. As usual, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and consider leaving a comment in case you have something specific you want to ask. Now, let me just say that progress is easier to measure when you are just starting at something than when you are already on the journey. Assessment and progress assessment is always easier in the initial stages of learning the language. For you to go from never speaking language at all in your life to starting to put statements together like Guten Morgen, wie geht's dir, mein Name ist Melk, Ich bin 30 Jahre alt. Now, that makes you feel like you're learning something. But as time goes on, measuring the progress starts to be harder because now you have learned a lot, and what you know regarding that language is almost more than the rate at which you are getting in new information. One tends to be discouraged, and then they draw back. Motivation starts to die because you are not able to measure yourself along those lines. So it is just a normal feeling, and you shouldn't give up. Let me also emphasize that, by the way, the higher you go in the levels of the language, it is the harder it gets, although it reaches somewhere and becomes easier. Basically, progressing from A1 and A2, there is some effort involved there. And then from A2 to B1 to B2. This, for me, I really consider to be the hardest phases of learning German because a lot of information is coming at you from all angles. Transitioning from A2 to B2 is the hard one because these are moments, even me personally, where I really got headaches. You're getting so much vocabulary, information is coming to you from all angles. You have to read articles and then comprehend them and then write. Verbs are coming at you. Basically, lots of things are happening. So it kind of gets harder. But the moment you reach B2, progressing from B2 to C1 or even C2, like what I'm currently learning right now, going on to level of C2, it starts to be easier. The point I'm making is it kind of gets harder. There is a steeper point of the curve before it gets easier at the mountaintop. Although the common European framework of reference for foreign languages actually says that to go from B2 to C1 and even later C2, you need all these amounts of hours, like so many hours. The truth is, it is easier because at that stage, you kind of understand the nuances of the language, you understand the context. Buckle up and let's go on. Let's address reading first. When it comes to reading, my recommendation here would be that read different genres. Don't just read your academic books if you really want to progress. From the level of about B1, B2, C1, read different genres of material out there. Like I said, I was reading this book, and then there is this book I have been reading. It's called Das Wunder von Maria. Right now, recently, I'm reading newspapers. I always read newspapers, and this kind of just broadens up your vocabulary and read different genres. This helps to broaden up your scope and your contextual understanding of the language other than the academic material. You might be like, but Melk, I don't have these books, I don't have the newspapers. That is totally understandable. There are some very wonderful websites here that I could recommend. The official website of DW or Deutsche Welle has very wonderful material in German that you could read. This is basically news regarding German and other parts of the world. You could read that. You can also check out Nachrichten. There are famous newspapers here in German that you could check out online, and then you just go on to read these things. The famous one is Der Spiegel and then the Zeiten. My emphasis, if you want to move from this intermediate level to advanced German, don't restrict yourself to only academic material. Read at every presenting opportunity because that broadens your context, it broadens your vocabulary. And then something I would emphasize here is that don't stop to find out the meaning of every word. You can underline every word you don't understand, but as you underline every word you don't understand, just flow on with a story. Come back and check the words that you didn't understand later. Now let's go and talk about listening. When it comes to listening, at an advanced level of German, you must be able to understand fast-speaking natives. That means as they're speaking, you must be able to understand exactly what they're talking about. What are actually the important points being talked about in this whole thing? Where is the story going? You must be able to understand the sarcasm of the story if it is hidden in there. You must be able to understand different accents. We have the Kolsch accent, we have the Bayerische accent. At advanced level, you must be able to understand natives on all those levels. So of course, things like idioms or the so-called Redewendungen, you don't have to know all of them, but you must at least know some of them in German. That means you have to invest time in listening to Germans a lot. At this level, I don't recommend that you just spend time practicing with your learning partners. You have to spend time listening to actual Muttersprachler or native speakers. We are lucky that we are in the era of internet, and there's lots of material on the internet when it comes to podcasts or YouTube that could help you bring that privilege near for you to be able to listen to these people when they are speaking. So at this level of advanced level, Easy German should be a piece of cake for you. You should be able to understand 100% of what is spoken on the podcast and YouTube channel of Easy German. I recommend that you listen to these two podcasts. One of them is called Methodisch Inkorrekt. Methodisch Inkorrekt is a good one. These two guys are always discussing a wide range of topics. It's a good one if you want to improve your German and go on to advanced. The other one is called Die Lage in der Nation. That's also a very wonderful podcast. All of them are, by the way, available on Spotify. You could check them out. They're very helpful. They could help you improve your German and go on to sound like a very advanced German speaker. You shouldn't be asking all the time, wie bitte? Können Sie das bitte wiederholen? Nein. At advanced level, you need to be taking in information and understanding everything. So the goal here is to actively identify the topic which is being discussed and follow it along very critically. You should be able to also pick the nuances of the emotions which are flowing in that conversation and the key arguments which are being put forward by the speakers in the conversation. I also recommend that you don't forget to focus onto your field. The field you're going to work in. For example, being a doctor myself, I spend most of the time listening to medical podcasts. Practice Now by Hair Dr. Stierkat. I listen to the Amboss podcast. Amboss, by the way, is like the update version of that doctors use here in German. So I listen to their podcast a lot. By the way, their podcasts almost on every topic. If you're into engineering, go into that direction. If you're somebody who did law or you're basically nursing and all that kind of stuff, there are podcasts out there which kind of talk about something that interests you. You develop the vocabulary and the technical know-how of how to use the words and how to understand people from different contexts altogether. That helps you actually stand out from so many people. So when it comes to writing, this is also a big one. And let's just look at, for example, the Goethe Institute requirements for a written exam. As you see them here, that means every thought you are expressing yourself in must be in a paragraph. So that means you're not just putting out statements like Ich bin in Deutschland gekommen. Why did you come to German? To do what? And exactly how? That means every paragraph has a small introduction for itself, a body, and a conclusion. So you have to kind of arrange your thoughts systematically. And for you to be able to do that, you have to be able to use very many joining words or linking words. So words like dann, which means then in English, words like darüber hinaus, which means furthermore, words like dazu kommt. If you're in the medical field, statements like der Patient erwähnt auch das. So go on to learn these linking words, darüber hinaus, furthermore, the patient also spoke like this, and then they spoke like this. To add on, these words kind of help you to sound more pro in your writing other than just basic line statements which are very easy. Of course, if you're preparing for the Goethe Institute exam, you don't have to worry about this. You are permitted to make some few mistakes. You don't have to worry about this. There is some room for improvement, and of course all of us are improving. The examiners are not there to fail you. They just want to make sure that you can flow and understand and be able to take on certain responsibilities. So now let's talk about speaking. Now speaking is the hardest part of all these things that we've talked about. You can write, you can listen, you can do everything, but when it comes to speaking, somehow in your head, the moment you open up your mouth to start speaking, something in your head is telling you, no, they are judging me. You're kind of just worried. You think that this person is judging you. You think that whoever is listening to you is like, hey, she has made a mistake. Hey, he has made a mistake. So you're kind of just scared. Let me tell you, that is totally normal to kind of feel afraid sometimes. But let me just share with you some practical skills on how to overcome this fear. Well, the first step of how to overcome the fear is first normalize even speaking to yourself. That means if you have a thought, verbalize it in German. Don't just keep quiet. And then the other thing is, we are in the era of AI right now. Actually, if you use like a paid form of ChatGPT, you can have some conversations with ChatGPT in a way. My rule is try as much as possible to speak daily. Speak on a daily basis. Don't let the sun go down before you've spoken and used German. The other thing is try as much as possible to incorporate your new words into your conversations. So if you learn a new word, make sure you sneak it into your conversation that you're having. The best thing would be for you to have a tandem or like these speaking partners. Find a way, one way or another, just find a way of speaking. Don't settle back on your German, because I have noticed that so many people always say, well, I can understand, but speaking is hard. Why is it hard? It's because they simply stay back. This was my motto that helped me improve. I always knew it at the back of my mind that confidence doesn't come when you finally feel confident and are able to speak, or when you have learned everything and you're now perfect. Actually, confidence comes when you start speaking. So you speak, make a mistake, you're corrected, and the next time you face the speaking even much better. Now for vocabulary, if we are to Google how many words you must know for you to be considered an advanced learner, so go on the internet, just download this deck here. Let me just link it in the description below. Once you go through all this deck and finish all these words, I can tell you that your German will not remain the same, because you will get a lot of context. You will know so many words and you'll be able to speak. I recommend that you use Anki, but as you speak, learn the technicalities of speaking. For example, those conditional phrases, if only I had known, wenn ich nur gewusst hätte. Such statements really make you sound pro, and of course, the other thing is that you go on to kind of develop the wisdom to know when to apply every single rule. Because, for example, let me just give an example of like, if I want to ask somebody, would you like a cup of coffee? Maybe if I want to make them coffee. Like the advanced level of German, the natives don't be like, hättest du gerne Kaffee? That is more of official. The real typical C1 or the legend just be like, Kaffee? You understand? So those things kind of make you sound more pro and sound more advanced. Learning at this level really requires some form of commitment. The secret is for you to show up and learn, whether you feel like it or not, for you to just show up and learn anyway. If you are wondering how I'll do it now that I know what I know, consider checking out this video, because in this video, I go into much detail explaining how I would have learned German if I were to start over again. Other than that, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and leave a comment. And until the next one, bye and peace.